Hey everyone, welcome to another Build With Me series, a Webflow community live stream. I'm your host Nelson. Thank you for joining me today. So today's topic is all about video players. So I go on SpaceX's website sometimes to get inspiration because they have a very simple site. And so when I saw this update for their lightbox, I was like, that's pretty slick. Look at that right there. So you have two things happening. You have a slide up effect of the main content, and then you have the slide up effect of the lightbox. And then it auto plays the video. And then when you close it, the two slide up again. All right, so we're gonna make an entirely custom lightbox just as you saw on the SpaceX website. We're gonna do this in 4 parts. All right, so we're going to break down the build, and then we're going to build the video player inside of Webflow from an almost blank state, which you can clone, by the way. And then we're gonna make it dynamic. We're going to add a CMS collection, and I'm gonna show you how to make the video player dynamic. All right. Let's get started with the breakdown. Visual aids. Using paper. All right. So let's pretend this is our browser window. I feel like a game show host. And our content right here. Okay. So our content, we have the video player, and then we just have some content right here. All right. So what happens? When I click on play, what is actually happening is that this video player, this content is going outside of the browser window. It's going above. And so it's actually doing this. Okay. So on my y-axis, I'm going whoop. All right. So I'm going to say it's like 200 pixels from, if this is 0 pixels right here where it's at originally, I'm going to go negative 200 from the top. Okay, so on the y-axis, I'm going to go negative 200, and it's going to go like that. I think this is 200 pixels using paper. I'm just estimating. All right, so that is what's happening with that. However, right after it gets to 200, this content actually resets and goes positive 200 pixels right here. So that way it's waiting for the close function of the lightbox, okay, of the video player lightbox. So it goes up and then it resets down to here. And then when I close the video lightbox, it slides up to its original position. Okay. Now let's add another div on top of it. Bam, we got our video player. This was fun to make. Anyways, so again, we click play, and then this video player slides up. At the same time, the content is sliding up. So it goes slide up, and at the same time, this video player starts here at 100%, negative 100% from the bottom, and then pushes up here. And then when that happens, this resets. The content under it resets down here, and we don't see it because this takes up the whole screen. And then when I press close, this slides up and goes away all the way, and then this slides back to its original spot. And we're done with that. Let's get into the build. So let me pull up Webflow. The only styles that I have already, let me sure if I cleaned them up. Yep, I cleaned up everything. So the only styles that I have right now is on the body, just making sure that I have a font that's not Arial, and is the color white, and it has a background of black. That's it. Let's go ahead and put our first thing. We're going to put a div, and we're going to name this page wrapper. And this page wrapper is going to have an overflow of hidden. The reason why is because when I move the content up, I'm going to use my visuals again. More top down. Yay. So when I move this content up beyond the browser window, I want to make sure that no scroll bar is showing. Because if the scroll bar is showing, that means I can scroll back up scroll the browser back up, and then I get back to where I am right now. So I don't want that. I want this to cut. I want the overflow of the page wrapper to cut this so everything is hidden and I don't get a scroll bar. All right. Make sure that none of the content reaches the edges of the browser window. So I'm going to add a padding of 42. I'm holding shift and dragging on the padding so it's all sides. And let's go ahead and add another div, and I'm going to call this content. All right, this content is inside of there. All right, so we're going to put a link block. And in this link block, we're going to put in an image. And this is our thumbnail image. And in there, we need a play button. And let me just copy this play button, the play icon. I'm going to paste it here. All right, so the reason why I'm pasting it is because it's just an SVG. And I'm going to make sure that this link block, we're going to call this video thumbnail and set the position to relative. The reason why is because this play icon needs to be relative to something because I have it as position absolute. So a trick to get something centered on a page when you're layering elements on top of each other is using position absolute. And so I'm adding top 50, left 50, and then the opposite. I'm using the 2D transform to go on the X for -50 and -50 on the X and Y. So that's how I get this on the very center. All right, cool. We have our video thumbnail, and also in the content, let's add some rich text, and let's break this up into 2 columns. And an easy way to do that with text is the more type options, and I'm going to set this to 2 columns. And there we go. Let's give that, do we have a gap? Yeah, let's add a gap of 42. Okay, cool. And there we go. And let's move this away a bit. 42, all the things. There we go. All right, so we have our content. Let's go ahead and add our next thing, which is our actual video lightbox. We don't have to put it in the page wrapper because it's going to overlay over everything. So I'm going to make it a sibling. So we have the page wrapper that holds the content, and we have this div block, and we're going to call it lightbox. What I'm going to do is go to position, fixed, and I want that full. All right, full, and I'm going to set the z-index to something high, like 1,000. Okay, this makes sure that I'm on top of every other element on the page. And because you can't see the lightbox because there's no content within it, let me set the background to black. And there we go. So now this is totally on top of the page wrap. So the first element I'm just going to copy over is the YouTube video. So I'm going to copy that, paste it here. And again, you can get this, you can get all of these elements on the clonable version that I'm actually copying from. All right. So the clonable version is linked in the description below. So we have this YouTube video, and let's align it center. Yeah. Actually, I don't want to align it center. Sorry. This light box, I want to make sure that everything is aligned center. So center, center. There we go. And this YouTube video, I'm setting the width to 80%. And let's go ahead and put a text block right there. And let's call this video title. And let's make sure that it's a font weight of semi-bold. And let's say like 28. Oh, that's too big. There we go. Starship flight test. Starsnip. There we go. Starship flight test. And I don't like how the content is hitting the top and bottom, so let me give some padding. What number do I like right now? 42. And also let's add a gap on the rows. 42. There we go. So there's a gap between this, and it's 42. All right. So we have these two done. And lastly, let me get the close button. So let me get this text block. All right. So I'm going to add a link, block inside of the light box, and I'm going to call this close video. And let me put in I have an X right here that I've pasted in. And let's style this a bit. So let's go bold, white, no underline, and let's make this, ooh, bold is too much. Let's say, yeah, just normal. There we go. Let's say 64. Cool. And now I want to make sure that this is at the top right, so I can use position absolute to the top right there. And I don't want it hitting the very edges, so I can just pull this away a bit. There we go. 1% on both sides, the top and the right side. And there we go. All right. So we have our layers. We have our HTML and CSS ready. Okay. So all we need to do now is add interactions to it. Okay. So I'm going to turn off Lightbox for now so I can see the other elements under it. So I'm going to display none. And there we go. Let's go ahead and play with interactions. So when interactions is usually like, if something happens, then do this. So for us, it's if someone clicks on this video thumbnail, do something. So let's go ahead and add an interaction. And so our if statement is if someone clicks on this video thumbnail, do something. And that something is start an animation. So I'm going to press plus, and we're going to say lightbox. We're going to call it lightbox open. All right. So I want to affect content. So I'm going to move the content. So I want this content. I want to affect content, all elements with the content class, and set the initial state. So what does this look like when the page first loads? Well, I want the starting point to be 0. Okay? 0 pixels down here. And now, when I press on the video thumbnail, I want it to move up. So let's go ahead and duplicate this move. And we're going to say move up, which is -200. There you go. And if we press play, it does this. Now, that's nice and all, right? But it doesn't give us that cool swiping effect. See how it has some sort of delay? So we're going to use a different ease, and the ease I'm using, and you'll probably find one that works for you. So there's so many different types of easing, but I'm going to use in-out quint. So if I press play, notice how it has a different feel to it, all right? So that's it. And I want to make it a little bit slower, so I'm going to say duration 0.75. There we go. Cool. And now, when it's doing that, remember I told you that we're going to reset it down because on top of this, the lightbox will show up. So let's go ahead and duplicate this again, and we'll push it down to 200 pixels, like that. And we'll make sure that the duration is 0 seconds and it has no easing. It's just linear. So watch what happens. See, it does that reset. Up, down. Up, down. All right. So now that that's done, let's go ahead and affect our lightbox. So we have our lightbox here, and the initial state. So I'm going to press the plus here. This means initial state. So that's what that icon means. So I'm going to make sure that the initial state of the lightbox is hidden. So display none. Also, I want to move this lightbox down 100% from where it is. Now we can't see it because we have a display none on both the CSS side and the interaction side. But this is where the Frank cam comes in. We have the browser window and we need to set the initial state to be down here. So this is 100% from where it normally is. So visual aids are really helpful if you're new to Webflow and you're trying to figure out what's going on behind the scenes. After that move, we've set these two things up. Now let's go ahead and I'm going to duplicate the hide and show, and I'm going to set this to flex. So when I click on this, I want the lightbox to set its display to flex. And then I'm going to duplicate this and let's see here. I want to put the two moves, the content moving up and the lightbox moving up at the same time. And I'm going to set the duration the same, 0.75, and set the easing the same, in out quint. And I'm going to set this to 0%. And let's see how it works. And there you go. Pretty cool. Now let's add some more dramatics to this. I don't want to just show the YouTube video. I want to fade it in. So here's my finished product or finished page. If I click on this, notice how the video just fades in rather than already showing up. So let's add in that fade in effect. So what I want to do is I'm going to click on YouTube video right here. And its initial style is 0% on the opacity. I'm going to duplicate this. And after the content and lightbox move, I'm going to set the opacity of the YouTube video to 100. And let's use a regular ease to this. And if I press play, there we go. It's more dramatic. It's setting the stage, and then the curtain comes up. All right, so let's make our close function. All right, I'm going to click on the lightbox, go back to the CSS or the styles panel, and let's turn on lightbox. So I turned it on using flex. We can always turn it off later using display none, but I just want to see visually what I'm doing. So I'm going to click on the close video. Okay, so this is our close video element. So when someone clicks on it, do something. So the do something is right here, which is Webflow interactions. On the first and only click, I'm going to, let's go ahead and press plus on the animation, lightbox close. All right, so we just have to do everything backwards. So back on the closed video, I'm going to affect the content. And so I'm going to move the content. I want to make sure that the content is moved down by 200 pixels. All right. I'm going to set the duration to 0. All right. So this is my starting point. I'm going to duplicate and I'm going to move it back to from 200 back to 0 on the y-axis. I'm going to use the easing of in-out quint with a duration of 0.75 like we used before. And if I press play, you can't really see it. Why? Because the lightbox is in the way. That's totally fine. That's what we want. So let's affect this lightbox and make sure that it goes away. So first, let's affect the YouTube video inside of it. We had it fade in from opacity 0 to 100. Now we just got to go to 100 to 0. And easy enough, we can just press the plus sign. Press the plus sign and click on opacity and just set that opacity to 0. And we'll use a regular ease and duration is 0.5. That's totally fine. So this is what's happening. There we go. Just that fade out effect. Cool. Now let's move the lightbox out of the way. Click on lightbox, press plus in the same animation group, and we'll move it out of the way. So duration 0.75. Linear, change it to in-out quint, and on the y-axis we're going to set it to 100%, negative 100%, And if we press play, there you go. There you go. All right. Now, I think there's one more thing we need to do. So back on Frank Cam, we had this one go up. We had the content go up and then reset down here and then come back here. Now we need to do the same thing with the lightbox where it goes from 100% to 0. And then when we close, it goes to negative 100%. And this also has to reset down. All right. So let's go ahead and reset the lightbox. There we go. So this lightbox, let's go ahead and reset it down. I'm going to right click, duplicate, and this one is going to be no easing, duration is 0, and the Y is 100% down here. All right. So if we press play, up, and then you didn't see it, but there's a little tab at the bottom. Lightbox is hiding down here in the bottom left. All right, getting ready for its next reveal. So press save, and let me go back to the open. So I need to turn off lightbox with display none. So video thumbnail, the lightbox open. Let's just make sure that lightbox, the move, I'm going to duplicate that and set that move to 0, and it's 100%. I want to double down and make sure that it's reset back down to off the screen. And if I save and press preview, we should have it. There you go. Our next part, we're going to make this dynamic. Can this build work with the Webflow collections and CMS? And the answer is, of course it can. All right, so in the CMS collection, I've already created a videos collection. And the only thing we have here is the name, slug, YouTube ID, and some rich text. Okay? And again, this will be in the clonable. And so all I have is the name of the video. That's going to be the label at the bottom of the lightbox. And then a YouTube ID. And so where do you get the YouTube ID from? Well, the YouTube ID can simply be found after the V. So if you go to any YouTube video, they have a query string of V equals. So basically that's video ID. So you double click, copy it, and paste that into your Webflow custom field in your collection. Let's go to the videos template. There should be nothing. Good, there's nothing. Let me copy this page wrapper and paste it in here. All right, this rich text block, I'm going to bind it to the rich text field inside of the collection. And there we go. And now let's copy over our lightbox. Copy the lightbox, paste it into the collection page. And there we go. And let's turn it on so we can see what we're dealing with. All right, so this is not the right video. This says Starship flight test, but this one says Starship mission to Mars. So this is wrong. It should be this one. The reason why is because they're all of the YouTube videos, all the collection pages, sorry, are using this same code. So I can make this dynamic simply by changing the YouTube ID. So in a YouTube embed code, they all share the same code. This whole thing is the same across all YouTube embeds, except for one piece of information, which is this. So after the /embed/, this is the YouTube ID. So I can change that like that. And so now this is being pulled from the Webflow collection. And just like that, it is now dynamic. So if I press save and close, it resets to the correct video. Okay, cool. So we have that. Let's go ahead and bind the video title down here to the name. Easy, easy. And so there we go. All right. Now, one more piece of low code that I had to write, and again, it's in the clonable. I'll explain it now. is down here. All right, so let's get into some low code. If you don't know jQuery, don't worry. I'll explain this as simply as possible. When someone clicks on the close lightbox, so the X, find the YouTube video's iframe and find its source. So find the source of the YouTube iframe and set it to blank. So what happens is it takes this code. So let me double click. It takes this code. It finds the iframe and it finds this code and it basically deletes it. It just goes like that. And what happens when you just have that? Nothing shows up. So if I didn't have that piece of code in, let me put it back. If I didn't have this piece of code in and I closed the video would still be playing in the background. And if you play 3 videos, you'll hear all 3 videos playing in the background even though you've closed it. So this is a way to turn off the video, to completely get rid of it when someone closes it. So that way it's not playing in the background. And it can't because it's gone. Okay? Now, on the opposite end, if someone clicks on the video thumbnail, let's put back that source, that URL to the video. And we can add Webflow collection fields inside of this custom code too. So that's how you bring the video back. And it's also a reason why I like to use the fade in effect, because it might take a half second or something for the YouTube embed to load up. So while that loads, I'm letting the whole swipe up effect happen and the video is loading at the same time. And by the time it's done loading, it fades in and it looks like it was always there. Thank you all so much. Again, my name is Nelson Abalos Jr. I'll see you next time. And as always, make the web beautiful together. See ya.